Yes, people. What is good? Welcome back to another episode of the New Spurs or the podcast. I'm back on hosting duties this week. I got Macho Man here with me. I got Scott Hall here with me, and then I got we are Tottenham's finest, man. Sim, what you say, man? How are you?
Big up. Thanks for having me on. Pleasure to be here. It's a slow summer. We're all pain. It's a painful summer at the moment after the glory of Bilbao, but let's hope things start to pick up soon.
Yeah,
Everyone's getting picked up though. That's the thing.
yeah. Yeah. Literally, everyone's getting picked up, man. Mandem, what are we saying? Before we actually get into pod specifics, any grievances to air out? We got Sim here, so we've got him in the cauldron. So, let me know right now if you got any scores to settle. Yeah, and I'm looking at one man right here. Any score to settle? Just free it, man.
If we're answering questions now that we've got the new manager, I just wanted to know, is Sim still upset about Ange leaving?
I literally yesterday watched that documentary and it's got all me back in the feels. 100% I'm upset with him leaving. I wanted him to stay. I wanted season 3. I'm a big Ange supporter. I love him. I think he did. Obviously, look, I know the reasons he got sacked. I understand why he lost his job, but I just can't help feeling season 3, maybe he could have done something. The club, the players were behind him. Look, I like Frank. I think he's a great manager, and I'm excited to see what he can do. But if you're asking me if I could snap my fingers and Ange is still our manager, and we hadn't appointed Frank, I probably still would do it. But I'm trying to move on. But I love Ange. I'm still upset. I think we need. I said to myself, once I hear Frank speak, maybe I'll get over it. But it's still there. Once I heard that final speech, I'm like, damn, it's back again. It's bloody back again. I love him. I can't deny it. But it is what it is. You got to move on from it.
I can't lie. I didn't have the same feeling. I watched it and I was like, we should have killed this guy earlier. It's my personal opinion. Like, we should have strangled him like earlier. But
well, you didn't like the speech. You didn't like the speech.
No, I thought. Listen, my whole problem was, all right, fine. You won the Europa League. Great. Mm-hmm. I don't listen to all other people trying to diminish or play down what the Europa League win was and the competition, saying teams from the Champions League didn't, drop down into. I don't play none of that stuff. You won it. Well done. I've never seen 22 defeats in a league season. Never. Like I don't even think I've ever. I can't remember the last time I was close to seeing 20. That's 10 more defeats than we had the season before. When this brother said season 3 will be better, I was like, yeah, because you're about to be murdered. Like, you won't make it to season 3. You're not going to be here. And lo and behold, he was murdered. And he was rightfully murdered because
he was
17th and a title. Like, most people will be like, oh, you're not going to remember 17th. Actually, we will. Because every single time in any sort of trivia, any sort of pub, they'll be like, oh, what year was it that Spurs finished 17th in the league and won a title? They'll be like, oh, 2025 was Bilbao. They won the Europa League. Like, you can't even say the Europa League victory without mentioning what we did in the league. It's always going to come up. I know people will brush it, but it will always come up. And so I think the best thing he did was manage the club, because he did manage it. Like, we can't take it away from him. He did manage the club towards a Europa League victory. Well done. Clap for yourself. I think, what is he, 60 now? 59, 60. Perfect retirement package. He's on gardening leave, or, he's been given a bung of like 7 million. Walk off into the sunset. Just enjoy retirement. And I'll even applaud you. Yeah, like, but don't do what Harry Redknapp does, go on podcast and tell us, oh, okay, I could have done better if I'd stayed long. No, don't. I don't want to hear it. It's done. We're now here with Frank. Frank he's been insulted a lot, and I don't understand. It's a bit harsh, There's a lot of people that are like, oh, what's he gonna do? Finish in the top half? Like, oh, I don't know if I'll take top half and no trophies. Some people have to. That's Roy King will say. Well, allow it. He's just doing his job. just doing his job, mate. You know, and that's one thing Frank didn't do in the Ange didn't do in the league. Sorry, 22 defenses is unacceptable. That's my opinion.
I'm 100% with Yao on this one. They should have unalived him a lot sooner than they did, bro.
Luckily they didn't.
Listen, listen. We're saying lucky they didn't, and you make a fair point, because ultimately he's won the Europa League, so you have to give him his credit. But I actually thought it was a good separation point for both parties. Like the clamoring to keep him, I just didn't understand it. Honestly, I didn't understand it. Like I get some sort of emotional tie to him because he's delivered something that ultimately we've been starved of for years, but it should not override what was an absolutely diabolical campaign. Like, as Spurs fans, we would come out after every game, even with wins, and we'd be saying to ourselves, what is this? What are we watching? I don't forget Southampton at home. We won that game. Mm-hmm. Go and check the mood of the fan base after that game. We were disgusting to watch. The football was dire. The results were dire. No player was in good form. Like, literally no player was in good form. No player was making monumental strides under Ange. Yeah, man, he had to go. He had to go. That's actually one of the few moments where I'm actually giving the board credit. I'm giving the board credit because they haven't bowed to fan pressure. They haven't bowed to sentimentality. They've looked at things in black and white. Great, you've won us a trophy, but are you the manager to sustain Spurs? Right? Are you the manager to bring sustainability to Tottenham to try and go and win a trophy again? Like, bad teams win silverware. That's a fact. It happens, right? Winning silverware does not make you a good team. Spurs, for me, were nowhere near a good team last season, apart from a couple of games when we actually put it together in the Europa League and in the Prem. But more often than not, for me, a team who is typically built well enough to actually play good football, win lots of football matches, typically end up winning the trophies. It's not to say they win the trophies all the time, but you've got more of a chance of winning silverware, actually creating a good team that plays well week to week, that can actually score, that can defend better than putting together some mishmash team and just expecting like mud to just stick on the wall. Just, I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, go on, Sim. I know you're itching to talk.
Look, I've had these debates on my channel. So we had it for the whole season, if all honesty. I was always backing Ange throughout the whole way. And look, I understand the form. I understand how bad it's been for a lot of last season. I understand the 22 defeats is unacceptable. I do think there's context within that. And there's context of everything. Like, there was the massive injury crisis throughout the season where for 3 months of the season, we're missing 12 plus players pretty much. A lot of them are main players. For a lot of the season when we were playing Carabao Cup, Europa League, Premier League, non-stop, the players coming in, let's be honest, the summer we had, in retrospect, was nowhere near good enough. We're playing teenagers who are very inexperienced, 3 days a week, who are tired and fatigued. It led to a whole mishmash of horrible issues, which led to horrible results. When we got the players back, right, the league form had deteriorated so bad because of the injury crisis that basically the league was gone and all we had to do was fight for the Europa League. So we saved our main players coming back for that Europa League run. And we were basically continuing to play our second team in the Premier League, and yeah, the results basically continued to suffer in the Premier League, and we continued to lose games. But in the face of that, we were getting ourselves up for these Europa League games and getting through. Now, I think for me, for a lot of the season, when we had this injury crisis, and Andrew's blaming it's the injuries. A lot of people, I do hear people saying, Ange blames injuries when he gets the players back. The results didn't improve, but the reality is, when we got the players back, we won the Europa League. That is a sign of improvement for me. I understand league is your bread and butter and league is what you should be consistent at. But I think what we went through last season and the context we went through last season, for me, there was enough to suggest that next season, if he had learned lessons from what happened with the injuries and what caused the injuries. Obviously, we had apparently the medical team. We were looking for new medical team people to come in for next season. Ange said himself, there were mistakes made. I'm not absolving Ange of all mistakes. He's definitely made mistakes last season. Don't get me wrong. He admitted himself. He said something like he went too hard at the beginning of the season. That probably helped the injury crisis. Obviously, he said the teams need more experience. All those different things, but he went through all of that. He actually went through all these problems that we've had, which, to be honest, I know it's probably last season in the league was worse than we've ever seen, of course. But every set manager we seem to hit a sort of like buffer where it's a big issue in the second season. Most of them don't overcome it, and most of them are gone by that second season. Obviously, Ange happened with him as well. But he's gone through all those problems. He's understanding the problems within the club, within the squad, within the injuries and all that kind of stuff. I think he adjusted in that Europa League run. He adjusted how we were playing. We were much more of a settled team. I think we were much more stable at the back. We weren't so open, like everyone was saying. We were defensively a lot more solid. We were attacking in a good way, I think, for most of that Europa League. And then we went on and actually won the whole thing with everyone sticking together and everyone listening to Ange, sticking with him and believing when he said he was going to win something in the second season. And then once you have all that belief within the squad that, look, we stuck to what he was saying throughout the whole season. He, without every single defeat and every time we were getting an injury and everything was against us and all the criticism, we came out and actually won the first European trophy in 4 years and the first trophy in 17 years. I think that gives an unbelievable sense of belief within the squad. And I think we could harness that for next season. But I understand if you just look at the results, you look at the performances within that league context, even within the injury crisis, I'm saying it was terrible. I understand that. But I also understand when the league was gone and we were fighting to basically try and get into the top half, essentially. Like, it was hard for the players, especially when it was the second team, and it was a very young second team as well, to get up for those kind of games. And everything was on that Europa League. I think the focus of that club for the last 2 months or 3 months was very obviously on that Europa League, because everyone was talking about. And whether that's these excuses and those reasons are acceptable to you, that's for each person to decide. But for me, I can look at that context and say, okay, next season, we're not going to hopefully have Romero and Van der Ven coming back from 4-month injuries all the time. Hopefully they can be in a state where they can play a couple games a week. Hopefully we're going to be a much more settled team. We're going to have a lot more belief. I do believe when he has a settled team and he had his first team, we're actually a pretty good team. And I think we've proven that on a few occasions. But
have we?
I think most people could. Yeah, I do. I think we're actually a good team.
I think we're looking at the exception and not the rule itself, right? Because and Ohio, I know you wanna weigh in here. So I'll let you give your point of view first, and then I'll come back.
I'll try not to regurgitate too much of what's being said. Primarily credit where credit is due. Delivered first trophy in 17 years, most major trophy most of us have seen in our Tottenham win in our lifetime. But I'm a firm believer of the term, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. I think there's been a couple of teams where you've seen the league form, go to shit basically, but there's been a good cup run, good European run. Prime example for those who are old enough to remember, Roberto Di Matteo, when he won Champions League with Chelsea. It was very un-Abramovich-like to keep him around, and Di Matteo was gone within 10, 12 games? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like I can't really remember where Chelsea ended that year, but I feel like Chelsea would have been in a more comfortable position to bounce back from that, to deal with that, than we are, just because of how they have operated since then and how we operate. I don't think we could afford to chance a season 3 on Ange, because, I don't know if it was Roy Keane that said it actually, but somebody was like, all the players are giving it. Yeah, we're behind them. Yeah, with this, yeah, with that. Okay, you shouldn't have been that bad in the league. Like, I still made an excellent point of, it is difficult to get yourself up for it psychologically if the whole squad has conceded that we are not chucking the league, but it's second priority. Like, I do get that. I do get, the team changing week on week. It's not an easy thing, but at the end of the day, the manager has shown that he struggles to compete on multiple fronts. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. Antonio Conte has struggled with it his entire career. Do you know what I'm saying?
Every Spurs manager has, even if you think about it.
Mm-hmm. But, it took Ange, and fair enough, Ange held his hands up and said, maybe I worked a bit too hard at the beginning. It's like, my brother, we're not in the training ground and we could see that. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we got found out after that game against Chelsea, couple injuries, cool. Yeah, I think we still managed to finish 5th that year, but we were bad. Like it was one of those things that some of the wins, Toads, you said it, some of the wins we were getting, like after the game, we'd be in the chat like, mate, we can't keep getting away with this. We literally cannot keep getting away with this. And like the train, like a lot gets said about the medical department. That's been an ongoing thing for a couple of years. There are situations where like it's a case, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I know exactly what happened in the Tottenham training ground, but it is a known thing in football at several levels. The manager's like, look, can I get an hour out of him? Can I get 45 minutes out of him? Like it's a common thing. So I'm not going to say Ange endangered players by bringing them. Well, actually, no, let me rephrase that. There's been 1 or 2 occasions where it's pretty obvious certain players have come back a bit too early. We all saw Van de Ven and Romero come back too early. Yes, Romero got a slightly different injury, but as someone who studied physiotherapy for quite a long time, like just because, you did your left knee in one game and did your right knee in another, it doesn't mean the two aren't related, if that makes sense. Like your body has imbalances that you've not fully healed from. So I personally put a lot of responsibility on Ange in terms of like the volume that the squad was probably having to train at, let alone play at, and it just took him too long to rectify. And not all season 3s are good. Anyone who watched Heroes back in the day, season 1 bang, season 2 decent, season 3 writer strike. Like season 3 doesn't always bang off. So at the end of the day, we will never know. There is a branch of the multiverse somewhere where Ange got his season 3 and maybe won the Prem. There's another branch of the multiverse. Ange got his season 3 and we got 23 defeats and somehow beat relegation, but won the Champions League. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I get you'll never ever fully know. But at the end of the day, I think the board, Vinay, I don't want to get his surname wrong. I need to learn how to pronounce his surname. I think Vinay has done. I will learn it by the next pod. I will learn it. I think to get Ange out and to get Frank in within the space of a week, I think we have to commend the board for that. Do you know what I mean?
100%. And listen, Ange, as I said, be happy. You got your quid. You got your 7 million quid or whatever it is. You and Scott Munn can go off to the Maldives together on your lads. In fact, it's not even lads, like a family vacation. Drink your peanuts. Enjoy it, man. Enjoy. Like he gets to leave back in his chat, and he gets to leave with a big wad of cash in his pocket. So everyone's happy, man. And we give ourselves a nice baseline into next season with a much better manager, because Thomas Frank is a much better manager. He is. I don't care what anyone tells me about the trophy, this, that, and the third. He is a much better manager. He is. The proof is in the pudding. We watched both managers both managers and what they were able to extract from their team relative to what they've been given. And if you want a manager in Tottenham who has to basically punch above his weight, sorry, I'm not siding with Ange over Thomas Frank. But interesting debate. Thanks for having that debate, guys. Let's actually move into specifics then, right? So there's a couple of things that we want to talk about. Tottenham have actually signed a player, or we're on the verge of signing a player this week. A lot of people have been talking about said player. I don't think many people know much about said player, but we're in the process of signing Kota Takai from the J League, I believe. 20-year-old centre back. I can't remember what team he plays for, to be honest.
Kawasaki, I think it is.
Pardon?
Kawasaki, I think.
Kawasaki. Yeah. Right. So we're signing a 20-year-old centre back, but what was interesting about the way in which the story was reported is Alistair Gold is saying that he's going to be included in first team plans this season. So I'm going to open up the floor to whoever wants to start first and talk to me about where your head's at with this signing, because I do think that there's an element of shrewdness here, either from a talent perspective, if you're really banking on the player, like really hitting the heights, but then there's also an argument to say that this is a signing that accomplishes a commercial goal as well. So yeah, let me know your thoughts.
I think so. Again, I hadn't heard of Kota Takai until about 72 hours ago. I've still not even seen a com. I've just read a couple articles and things like that. I have no issue with the signing whatsoever. I think people that get upset about this kind of signing, it's like, what are you actually upset about? That we're future proofing the squad, that we're actually trying to get talents early, because because if we don't take him and he goes to Bayern or something and Bayern win the Champions League and he's been starting for 3 years, oh my God, we should have gone and got. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, from the little I've seen of him, I think he won J-League Young Player of the Year last season. He can't be that bad. Do you know what I mean? He has to be talented. I think he's got like 4 caps for Japan, played well in the Olympics. And from what I've read, profile wise, predominantly right-footed, but can pass pretty well off both feet. He's only young, so any deficiencies in his game, he's got time to iron out. Apparently, like, it's one of those that on any given day he can give you like a monstrous performance, but like we've not seen a lot about his like physicality and stuff like that, considering the leagues he plays in. But from a couple of 2-2 clips I saw, he was giving John Duran the business. Do you know what I'm saying? John Duran didn't have a good time against him. I mean, I get Cristiano Ronaldo is 40 years old, but if you can padlock Cristiano Ronaldo at 20 years old, you can't be that bad. Sometimes, from what I saw, sometimes you get, when he's a bit rushed in possession, he can rush the pass over the top and it might go out of bounds once or twice. But again, like, he's only 20 years old. We're not expecting to sign the Japanese Virgil van Dijk. And just quickly on the commercial point, I think there are people who would have said the same thing about Son. I don't think you can say this is, oh my God, this is 100% just trying to get into the Japanese market. I do think it would be silly to think that plays 0% in it, like signing. If we sign someone from Mexico, you could say the same thing. If you sign someone from Australia, you could say the same thing. If you sign 100%. Someone from somewhere that doesn't predominantly speak English and we're not tapped into those markets, it makes complete sense. But I think if people are implying that we're only signing the kid who won J-League Young Player of the Year solely for commercial reasons, I think you're quite misguided and probably a bit racist.
You've put it perfectly, to be honest.
For me, I don't have a problem with the player at all. Like, I'm sure there's 100 reasons why we should be excited about his signing, about his physical profile, about, it's maybe a good bit of business signing him for 5 million, 20 years old, both feet, good passing, all these different things. I'm sure Kota Tacticos can explain to me 100 reasons why this guy's the next big thing. And I've got no problem with that at all. Here's the problem I have with the signing. It's more of a squad management issue. We are oversubscribed massively with foreign players in our squad currently. I think now with the signing of Kota Takai, we have to sell, I think, 3 players just so to hit the threshold of the European limit next season, which means after 3 sales, then it's kind of 1 in, 1 out after that. So we're already in a position where we have to look for a lot of selling, right? Now we're signing a 20-year-old from the J-League. He might be brilliant. Is he going to hit the ground running, right? If not, is he going to take time to settle in? If he's going to take time to settle in, why aren't we giving that time to Vuskovic or Ashley Phillips? Why are we signing a guy from the J-League to have that role? Why are we bringing someone in? If he's ready to go right now, fair enough. But is that too much pressure to ask for someone to coming from the J-League at 20 years old to be ready to play right now? On top of that, we already have 4 centre-backs in the club at the moment: Romero, Van der Ven, Dragoshin, and Davis. And Van der Ven, Romero, Dragoshin, Danso. Is he? If one of them, who's leaving? If it's Romero, is he going to be a Romero replacement? Is that what we're replacing Romero with? If he's not going to be the Romero replacement, is he going to get that much game time next season? Are we going to play a back 3? Is this? But if not, if we're having 5 centre backs in the squad, how are we going to upgrade on our midfield, and how are we going to upgrade in our attack with the squad limitations that we have? These are the issues that I have with the signing. It's nothing to do with him as a player or whatever. I'm sure he's a great talent, and I'm sure he might be great for us. I'm just not sure how it makes sense to add a 5th centre back into our squad for next season when we're already running very low on numbers. And for example, that probably limits our ability to, if we sell Basuma, maybe we can only get 1 midfielder, and not even that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how we make all these signings work. If we need to massively up, how many signings are we expecting this summer, for example? I don't know how many we're expecting, but did anyone have a 20-year-old centre back from the J League on their list going into this
Nope,
summer? It's
they
something we
didn't.
need to upgrade, and that's a problem. As much as I think, I'm not saying I think he's rubbish, or I think like, oh, why are we signing a guy from the J League? I'm just questioning the squad management issue that this gives us. I think.
I have a different kind of view on this. It's not so much the signing that's annoying, maybe the timing of the signing that's annoying in terms of where it's come in the window. If it was a bit later on in the window and we've done some of the bigger business early, then I guess fans wouldn't really be highlighting this so much. But in terms of our defensive options, if we look at it like Romero and Mickey are definitely the starters, for argument's sake, and we would say Danso would be the backup or challenger, more of a backup to Romero. Davis is not, I personally wouldn't see Davis as the necessary backup or challenger to Mickey. And we're going on left footer for left footer. That's why the profile will be there. I would probably have one of the younger ones like a Vuskovic, Dorrington, or this new kid as, fighting it out for that position, basically. And so with Radu being injured, me not necessarily looking at Davis should really be your third and we're in trouble, chuck him on kind of option. Yeah. So with that being said, I watched very limited amount of games with Dorrington in Scottish League. I'll be brutally honest, I don't think he's ready. He probably needs another loan. So the hype would really be around Vuskovic and this Takai. And so for me, really and truly, it'd be for one of those two to kind of... I'm not saying I'm frank in this option, but if I was the coach or manager, in the games where I feel I could, let's say we're 4-0 up for argument's sake, take one of the defenders off, chuck on that youngster, get him, some minutes outside of, the preseason games. And the games where we've got a bit more control, chuck him on. Or if, the manager is trying to be, special and he wants to go with 3 at the back and he wants to, throw one of the kids in a game in the Carabao Cup against a lower league team, I'd understand all of that. What I don't feel the club is going to do correctly is move certain players on. And I don't feel the players that have been, I don't know, in the shop window or been, putting themselves out there for argument's sake have given themselves a good account on the basis of last season. So I look at, the people that we probably want to move on, like Basuma, like Richarlison. I don't really see much suitors for them. Even if we lower the price to somewhere where Spurs ain't getting much money for them, I'm like, really, truly, we got Basuma for 25 million. Any club that spends more than 15 million for Basuma, I would be laughing. I would chop off their hand. Yeah, just for us to get that.
I think we can get that easy for Basuma. I think we can get that easy.
From who?
For Basuma.
Just who do you think would do it?
I feel like maybe not so much French league, but I can see a Turkish team giving us more than 15 million for him. I can see another Premier League team giving us more than 15 million.
So yeah, that would make sense.
I can see it.
If we shut them off, not shut them, because there's been a lot of incorrect misconceptions about Frank and his formation. Like when we signed him, people were like, "Oh, we're gonna play 3-5-2," and I was like, "He didn't even play that with Brentford for the majority of last season." Like, there's this belief he might play a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, and if that's the case, we've got quite, a heavy squad in terms of that. We do need to cut some players, if I'm being brutally honest. So I'm not so mad at the transfer of Takai. I just want the decision on Vuskovic, Takai, maybe Dorrington to be assured by the club. So if Dorrington is not really, say, in the pipeline in terms of like getting, minutes and stuff like that, forget a loan, sell with an option to buy back. Like do your business correctly where, if he goes on to have a fantastic season, say in the Championship or elsewhere, we've got an option to buy him back, or first option to buy him back. We can get our player back and fit him into the squad. If not, all the hype that we've got a future plan correctly, because one of the biggest problems Spurs have had in recent years is we haven't had a good funnel process for talent coming from our academy or young talent that we may have bought getting into the first team. In even in recent times with the likes of Brian Hill, came with a little bit of fanfare, completely died after the first season. Like just it was Beatlemania for like 1 minute, and then it completely fell off the cliff. So
terrible.
You know, I feel like I don't have a problem with Spurs spending money on these younger talent and trying to see what they will develop into. That's not my issue. My issue is making the starting 11, maybe starting 16 if you include the 5 fringe players, more assured and more capable of competing on all 4 fronts, without injuries included, of course.
Yeah, I think I think that's the goal. And to be fair, I agree with everything you guys have said. I'm definitely with you as well. Like, and I feel like I probably need to wait and see what actually happens when he does come here, because there's a lot of talk, right? It will be interesting to see, like, are we playing him off the left? Is he gonna get sufficient game time? Like, what does it mean for the younger centre backs that we already have on the books? Me personally, though, on that point on clearing space, we have to clear space, irrespective of Takai. We have to. If I'm looking at that squad right now, irrespective of Takai coming in, I'm slapping some Aboniki on Dragusin's knee, and I'm pulling him by his ponytail and getting him the hell out of that club, bro. I'm literally doing the same thing on Richarlison's hamstrings and knees and saying, "Yo, obrigado, off you pop." Honestly, obrigado, go. Like, move these players on. Like, they must go. They must go, irrespective of Takai. But it will be interesting to see how we use Takai when he comes in. I think the one thing that you mentioned as well, Yao, on this Ben Davies thing, when are we going to be free of Ben Davies as an option at this club? When are we going to be free? This, you know what's crazy, yeah?
But
Me and Ben
such a
Davies.
solid option, Toby.
But
So
stop, Sim, stop. Me and Ben Davies. Do you know what we have in common? We get left foot bias. That's what we get. Yeah, I'm terrible, but because I've got left foot, when I play for 11 aside, we can put him left back. We can put him left this. Sorry, Ben Davies, stop. He's not good enough. I get the experience, but there's no point in you telling me a man is experienced when he is literally getting spun by Sessegnon. Sessegnon turned him into a Beyblade, bro. Sessegnon.
You know what I hate is when people say, "Oh, you know what you're going to get with Davis? He's a solid 7 out of 10 every week." No, he is not. On a good day, he's a 7 out of 10. On his best day, he's a 7 out of 10. He's a solid 5 out of 10 pretty much every other week. That's what he is.
The last time Davis was a solid 7 out of 10, we had Mercury retrograde. Like, them things don't happen often. It's once in a blue moon.
That's why I was annoyed when he got a new contract.
Yeah. You know that video when he's like, you see that meme where he's like, they can't keep getting away with this. You know the American. They can't keep that's literally me with him. Every single time when I think the end is here, you're done, you're finished, he comes back like the Undertaker. I don't understand it. How does he keep defeating fate? How?
He is inevitable. Like, if we're like where Bruno is inevitable for Man United, Davis is our inevitability. Oh, you think you got rid of me? No, I'm here again. Like, he's going nowhere. But if we do sell Davis this summer, for the 10th time saying this, I think we should have a parade. I think we deserve it, because this guy, I don't understand. He's the guy that, you're at work, you're like, this guy has had 10 disciplinaries. Why has he not been sacked? And then he turns to you and be like, I've got a dossier. He's that guy. Yeah. Whatever information he has on the club, they don't want that to come out. And so, new contract in it. But Wrexham were in for him. I don't know what happened there. I reckon Mason might think about it. Hopefully.
Please, Ryan. Gosh, please. And everyone knows that comment from YG Jazz. Big up YG as well. He's like, I don't think he'll be playing a lot this season. That's what we always say. He's not gonna get that much game time. And then Mickey van der Ven gets injured, and then Dragusin or Danzo pick up a hamstring injury, and then for 3 or 4 weeks, guess who comes back into the team? Oh, steady Ben. No, man. No. Go.
I
It's
think he's the
time to
cause
go.
of
It's
these
time to
injuries.
go.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think he's the cause of these injuries. They may seem like freak injuries. But man might be putting too much salt in certain man's drinks, bro, just causing hamstrings to pop.
I just hope whatever happens, he gets
I'm
left
telling
out of
you,
that
man.
Champions League squad. I just hope he gets left out of that Champions League squad, whatever happens.
Yes.
We can't get into it today, but
Absolutely.
that Champions League
Absolutely.
squad is a headache. Just to figure out the number, it's a headache.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I agree. Good chat though on Kota. Let's see what happens with his career at Tottenham, but definitely one to keep an eye out for, because if it does land right, then potentially Spurs might have a good player on their hands there. So let's actually see where that one goes. I want to sort of switch gears and move from defense, and let's talk about the attack as well, because we've been linked with a plethora of players, man. Mbuemo, who's obviously edging closer and closer to United, Semenyo, Kudus, Eze, Malik Fofana. We've been linked to so many attackers, but I guess what I wanted to ask is, who are we actually going to sign? And secondly, who do we want Tottenham to sign, right? Because we've all acknowledged we can't have Brennan Tapping Johnson starting games next season. And I'm not saying that because, we're not going to do this. Like, we can't have Brennan Johnson starting games regularly for Tottenham next season. And we also acknowledge that Son could be on his way out. So Richarlison could be on his way out. There's potentially other players out the door. Solomon. There's Dane Scarlett. There's a couple of players who could be moved on this summer. So let's go back to the first question, right? Who's best placed from the attackers that we've been linked to in terms of suitability for Tottenham, from the names I've mentioned?
Go on, Sim.
No, I was going to say Eze, but that's gone. He looks like he's on his way to Arsenal, and that I would have loved to have gotten Eze through the door. I think he's top quality, but it looks like Arsenal are going to get him. And I was having this conversation with my brother yesterday. He mentioned, there's links to Arsenal. I was like, you know what, that worries me. That Arsenal putting their name in the hat, that does worry me, because they need a left winger. He's like, no, Arsenal aren't going to get him. Arsenal are going to go for him. I was like, I'm not sure. And now it looks like they're going to get their man. So obviously, Mbuemo's out the door. I really like the idea of Kudus. I do like the idea of Kudus. I know he didn't have a great season, but I think he's got unbelievable ability. He's so strong. He's so direct. He's got a very good left foot. I think he's kind of player that we don't really have in the front line. Someone who's just going to wriggle out of tight situations, use his strength, drag us up the pitch, and can play in a few different positions. It's just whether West Ham will deal with us. I don't know. Obviously, with big rivalry there, how much he's going to cost. So that's
minimum like 80. Yeah. That's minimum 80 million, and then you can probably chuck in another 10 million because it's Spurs tax.
Exactly.
I that signing, I quite like the look of Kudus in this team, but yeah, I can't see us signing him as well. It will be interesting. If we signed him, we'd have another Ghanaian in the squad. And you know what? I'm gonna put my beef to the side, and I would have actually quite liked to see the vibes, the Ghanaian vibes. We've got Danso there. I would have liked to see the Danso Kudos relationship, but obviously that's not going to happen. So we have it's weird. I don't know why. Are we going for Ghanaians this summer? Because it's like Semenyo's linked as well. He's Ghanaian too. What do we think of Semenyo to Tottenham?
No, it's about time. We should be going for Ghanaians. I mean, we need to play
Why?
a club of experience. That's for sure. You know, like outside of my brother Ohio, that other Nigerian Goldberg, we can't have him at the club. No, I think our summer transfer started off a bit weird, because obviously where the transfer window is already open, I feel like we've just gone for all of these like younger profiles, you know, the Lange kind of like, oh, this is, you know, data-led kind of, you know, driven kind of thing. So we've gone for those talents first. which has kind of left us in a bit of a tricky position because obviously, the fans want Eze. Let's just call it spade a spade. The fans want Eze. There will be arguments made that, if you get Eze, what does that mean for Maddison, Kulu? Well, you want competitiveness in the club, and especially in the squad. Eze should be the marquee signing, and we have chased him for like almost 2 summers. So I don't understand why that is taking so long. But we've kind of been here before with Maddison. We went into, 2 seasons ago, where we went into the summer heavily linked with Maddison. They were saying we were going to get Maddison. All of a sudden, no, it's looking like he could go Newcastle or he could go Man United, and then he ended up at Spurs. So I'm not sure how that's going to end. But if we don't get Eze, because we don't know what the summer
He's going Arsenal.
Hey, that's what they said. He's going Arsenal. So if we don't, I think, you probably would look at a Kudus. We definitely need a centre mid. And a centre mid that can at least break up play and help the defence out, especially if we're being counted on. Players like in the mode of an Edison, might cost money, but players of that mode would be a more than welcome buy. Now, in terms of if this was towards the end of last season, I would have said we need to buy a left back, but due to the club trained issue that we're going to face in the Champions League, it looks like it would be more of a smarter club decision, as annoying as it may be, to kind of go and get a Kyle Walker-Peters or Dennis Cirkin to kind of like cover that position. It's not great, but I guess defensively we're not really struggling across the board, if I'm being brutally honest. It's just about players staying fit. My main concern is the wings. I don't have a problem with the Tel purchase at all, actually. I'm actually an advocate for Tel. I think there's something to do with that kid going forward. But I don't want Johnson starting next season. I could care less what he did for us last season. I don't want him to be a starter. And if he is a starter, I want him to fear his position. And he's not going to fear his position right now. Until we see the first preseason game, or maybe the first few preseason games, we won't really know what Frank is going to do with this attack. It's weird because, I've heard people say Johnson will start on the left because obviously he does this, right footer cuts in from the left footer cuts in from the right. But we don't really have like left-footed wingers like that. So it's a bit tricky to see. And the problem we're having here is the club, for the last 2 seasons, have done their hardest to keep transfers under wraps, keep it quiet. How many times in the last 2 seasons have we been hit with where did this come from? We weren't even linked to this guy. We were linked for like 2 minutes and then done. Odegaard was one literally last summer. Like, you're linked to Odegaard. 2 hours later, Sky Sports saying it's done. Like, what's going on here? So, for me, I think the club, if you're going to spend big this summer, I would go for Eze, a centre mid. There are a few names out there. Agume, obviously, recently a lot of fans have been saying we should take a look at him, take a punt with him. Edison would be my pick personally. But I will say this. If the rumours are true that the Eze deal can be, done in installments, I don't see a problem with us going out and getting Eze and Kudus. This is where my problem is with Spurs. You're a big club, but you act like a penny pinching club, small club. Like, we legitimately, if we're being brutally honest, we act like Brentford. So it's like, we're gonna be smart here, try and get a gem here, sell it on but we don't sell on well. So I don't understand how, all the metrics point towards, you've got this amount of money that you can spend, or the threshold you can go up to due to PSR, and we don't ever test those waters. But clubs like Aston Villa, Chelsea, Man City, they don't care. Man United, their chairman came out and said, we're broke. We can't even fix the toilets. And they've gone and spent 120 million. I need Spurs to start acting like that. Don't come tell me about no 250 million hotel unless you're giving me a room. Yeah, I don't care. Go and get the players that are going to have us competing left, right, and center. It's not going to be easy, but they have built the squad over the last 2.5 years. 400 million has been spent during Ange's tenure, apparently, if you want to include certain players from the summer before. But that doesn't mean stop spending. Ogume is at flipping Lyon. They've been relegated. I don't think they're going to win that case. Go get that. They're saying Eze is, you get to spread it over 3 years. Go do that. Then you can start looking at, your Simmons, Musa, your Kudos. Then you can start blending. Yeah, like you can start doing all of this kind of stuff. And if you work it out correctly, fine. But my biggest problem is it's not July yet. So all of this me getting mad and angry, I can't get mad and angry to the middle or back end of July. When it gets close to the back end of July and we're still here, and it's only been Takai,
which we will be.
Yeah, we know Spurs. If we're here middle of July and it's still the same, protest. But I've said this to most people. It doesn't matter what Daniel Levy does. He should be booed for the rest of his tenure at Spurs. Because you don't give us what we've had for 25 years and think that this Europa League win turns it around. No, you should be booed, bruv. Because you've done some nasty stuff. You're the highest paid.
With the attack, if I stay on the attacking talent, I hate the question of how do you fit him in? What do you mean? How do you fit him in? You've been watching us starved of X Factor quality, and yet you're literally questioning how do we make it work with Eze when we've literally signed a manager whose USP is making his way of playing work for the players that he signs, all whilst maintaining some sort of semblance of defensive stability and proactive football, right? I just don't understand the line of question. I really don't. I think it's clear we need talented quality in several parts of our attack. We do. We need it through the middle. We need it on the right. We need it on the left. We just need it. And
at all the positions.
This Eze deal, it's hurting me as well, because it's if he does go to Arsenal, that's gonna piss me off, because he's right there, literally right there, and we've just looked at him and pretended he stank for most of the summer, bro. I don't understand it. I don't get it. So interesting question from Dalen here as well. So he asks, "What's our thoughts on Javi Simmons?" And I want people to. Maybe I'll come to you or higher on this one. What's your thoughts on Simmons in this team? And then I think once you answer that, Sim, I want to ask you your opinion on whether we should actually care about how much Spurs are willing to spend on these attackers. Mm-hmm. Is it just a case of just get the attackers by any cost? Or is it a case of, okay, we can understand the club maybe not going for a Semenyo if he's going to cost 70 million, or not going for a Kudos if he's going to cost 85 million?
So with Simmons, I'm not going to pretend I've watched him loads. I've only watched a couple 90 minutes here and there. Clearly super talented. Someone on the timeline was calling him borderline world class. I don't know about all that player.
Ridiculous.
We need to calm down with some of the words that we use to describe players, because my favorite saying is words mean things. We can't just throw around terminologies on players that people do not watch week on week. He's obviously very good. Let's not get it twisted.
Who was it? Was it Ollie, that freak invert the wing?
I was going to say invert the wing. No,
it probably was him. To be fair,
he's blocked me. Good.
Has he?
Yeah,
I blocked him, man.
I'm glad.
It's because of Ange. It's because of all the Ange stuff.
It's because I was
too hard on him.
It's because I was beefing him, and I'm happy. The little troll, man.
Did you beef Jacko?
I've not beefed Jacko yet. Jacko's harmless. Jacko's deluded, but he's harmless. That invert the wing guy, it's crazy. Someone's very existence pisses you off. His existence on Twitter, it pisses me off. Oh Lord. Anyway,
he is an elitist troll. I've never seen a troll like invert the wing. He's the best troll I've ever seen.
Yeah, he deserves a Ballon d'Or for trolling. Honestly.
Yeah, 100%.
He does.
But yeah, with Simmons, I feel like obviously a lot of the chat after the Europa League when Andrew was still there, to be fair, was that we'd be going for slightly more experienced players, the 23 to 27 age ballpark, which I feel like you can only take it with a pinch of salt because we've just signed Takai, who's 20, and I think if any good opportunity pops up and they're on the younger side, we are going to take it. I don't really have a lot to say on him. I think for me personally, just because I've seen more of a body of work from him, it's Eze that I've wanted Eze since he was at QPR, to be honest. When I first saw him at Wickham, I thought it was really, really good. I don't really, obviously, I do listen to the odd Arsenal pod and I hear them. So Berta, and maybe Berta has now dropped a little leak about them having some chats with Eze. But these things happen all the time. Like it doesn't, for me, it's not a done deal. But yeah, Simmons, I'll have absolutely zero complaints if we sign Xavi Simmons. It'd be interesting to see how the setup works. But I'm not going to turn around and say Thomas Frank is Luis Enrique, but we've seen arguably the best team in Europe have played in a way where Kvaratskhelia, who everyone swore up and down only played left wing, was popping up on the right casually. Desiree Doué, who everyone was like, only played left wing, was played right in the Champions League final. Ousmane Dembele, if someone told you 2 years ago Ousmane Dembele was going to be slapping it from centre forward false nine, nobody would have believed you. So again, not saying Frank is Luis Enrique by any stretch of the imagination, but if we sign Xavi Simmons, that's another player who will be more comfortable in the centre, drifting off the left. No issue with that. He does look tactically flexible enough to interchange on the right-hand side as well. Will he start games on the right? Probably not. But yeah, the technical floor goes up, the technical ceiling goes up. I wouldn't have any complaints, to be honest.
Quality there. Yeah, I agree. I think he plays across the front line. I'm really a big, massive fan of Xavi Simons. I've seen him for Leipzig in the Champions League. I think it'd be. I'm just imagine him, Maddison, and Decky linking up together. I think it'll be a joy to watch. I really do. I think it would be so beautiful football. In terms of the question, should we care about how much we spend on an attacker? To an extent, I mean, no. Obviously, for someone like Semenyo, I do think the only way we're going to get him at this point is to overspend because they've got so much money in from Kirkes, Hyson, and they sold another one as well. Can't remember who it was, but they've brought in so much money, like it's going to be tough to basically get them to cheap out on another player. So should we care if Spurs spend big money on a Semenyo? It's not our money. Do we like the player? That's all we should care about. I think to an extent we shouldn't care, but I also get frustrated that, for the likes of Richarlison, we probably overspend. He was probably like a £45 million player. We probably spend a bit more on him. Solanke was probably a 50 million or £45 million striker. We spend a bit more on him. And so we push the bat on these kind of players. Yet when there are unbelievable talents that are ready and there for Eze. Like, that's Eze's 3 million more than Solanke. Why aren't we slapping that release clause down and getting him by any means necessary?
Facts.
And all of a sudden we care about how much we're spending. Like,
Facts.
That's the annoying thing. When there's real talent that everyone knows is going to immediately improve us, all of a sudden we're tentative and we're hesitant. But when there's other talents who they're gettable, but they're mid-range talents, no one really there's not that much competition. All of a sudden we're overspending, and all of a sudden we're willing to push the bout on those kind of players. And that's the frustration. Maybe it's because of a wages thing. Maybe it's because Eze would have demanded 200 grand a week, and Solanke and Richarlison will overspend on them because they're willing to take 90 grand a week or whatever it is. And maybe that's the reason. But so I don't really care about how much we spend, but it's just frustrating who we over. Like, I think Semenyo would probably be another one of those. Like, I like him. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good winger. I don't think he's a massive game changer for us. If I'm being honest, I think he's a good player and probably a bit better than what we have currently, and maybe under Frank can go to another level. But if I'm judging him against what we currently have, I don't think he's massively better than what we currently have. Maybe a bit, and potentially is, but I don't see him as like guaranteed. This guy, wow, he takes us to a new level. I think it's a good signing, adds a bit of quality, but I don't think he's a special player, in my opinion. I don't think he's special. Like, I think he's good. I don't think he's special. That's what we always don't. We don't always push about on special players. Like, I think Simons is special. I wouldn't mind going. I think Kudus can be a bit special. I like him a lot. I wouldn't mind pushing about on those players. Semenyo, I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I actually think he's considerably better than anything we've got on the right hand side in terms of what he offers as an outside threat as well as an inside threat. If that makes sense, I think he's he's a much better ball carrier than a lot of the wingers we have, and I think his ability to strike the ball with both feet and strike it well.
That's true. Yeah.
You can put him on both wings and he can perform. But I also hear where you're coming from in terms of spend. Like, again, it's one of them ones where if Spurs did it, I'm taking it straight. I'm taking it. I think he's a good player that does improve us. But I'm also not going to lose my head if Spurs didn't pull the trigger on him at 70 million, because I think that's a quite frankly ludicrous price for Semenyo. But unfortunately, the nature of the business at this point in time for attackers is it's nasty business. You actually have to overpay for certain players, and it's just what we're gonna have to do. We had to do it for Solanke, and we knew that he's a good striker, but he's not a needle mover, right? We're probably gonna have to do the same for an attacker, but at the very least, make it a needle mover this summer. Make it a needle mover this summer. Eze is a needle mover for me, but Eze alone isn't enough. Eze and Tel isn't enough for me. I think we need. It's crazy. We actually need. I think we need another like 2 attackers, bro. Like, I don't know whether you want to call it like a striker and a right winger or whatever, but we need another 2 attackers. We do personally.
Would you rather a striker or 2 wingers?
I'd rather a striker and a winger.
I mean, that's what I mean. A striker and a winger or 2 wingers. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need something. I'd say a striker and a winger. I think we need something different to Solanke. We need to sell Richarlison. We need something different to Solanke, man. We need someone who's just all about goals. I think Solanke obviously has his qualities. He has his uses, but he ain't a killer, bro. And that's not to say he can't score goals, but he's not a killer. I think we need someone who can come off the bench and offer us something different, whose game isn't as janky as Richarlison's. If Richarlison actually had more tech and a bit more pace and was a bit more robust, then we could have a conversation. But it's like if my auntie had wings, she could fly. It's just
Solanke, when you ever see him pick up the ball, just take one touch and just arrow it into the corner. He just doesn't do that kind of stuff. He doesn't have that in his game.
Bro, I'm so sick of seeing Solanke shoot shots into people's legs, bro.
Yeah.
Have you not noticed
it takes an age to get a shot.
Every shot is blocked, bro.
Unless he's heading in a cross or tapping it in from a cutback. He takes an age to shoot. Bruh. He takes a few touches, and by the time he's lined up the shot, there's 3 defenders around him. Like, he needs to be quicker.
I don't like Solanke shooting, but I also don't like. If there's one person I'm going to highlight about their shooting, I hate it.
Kulu.
It's Kulisevsky. I hate it with so much pain. Like, I would remove his entire family bloodline if it meant he could download one package of shooting. I've seen this guy get into positions.
Man said he'd offer up his family as ritual, as tribute, bro. Just like Vikings. You know Vikings? Do you remember Vikings when they?
Blood eagle.
Because I don't understand. You could go and watch. I don't know if there's a comp, but somebody's probably made a comp. There's probably a comp out there all the times. He has been bearing down on goal, or he's cutting, and it's open sesame. Like, the whole goal is there. You can make the keeper work, and he's like passed it to the goalkeeper. Like, just like literally passed it to the goalkeeper. And I'm like, why do you do this? I don't understand it.
Do you think Decky might be a winger under Frank?
I think
potentially.
He'll be
fluid, though.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be. Okay, so I don't think in this Frank system that wingers will be touchline wingers.
Agreed.
So therefore, it's not really wingers we're really going for. We're going for players. The comparison is not the comparison, but what I'm saying is exactly the same. So we're going for players that will do more of what Cavra and Doué do for PSG, as opposed to what we were supposed to do under Ange in having touchline wingers that would go down and then cut it back. We're more looking for players that will attack on either side, so either go down the wing and cut, or cut in and cause hell and link up with the striker. But we don't have that.
That's the thing. If Decky's going to be a winger, if he is, it depends how Frank. This is why I think Frank's going to have a pre-season and have a look at all the players before we make any big moves. I get that feeling, because I think Frank's going to profile players differently, and he's going to look at different attackers and see where they fit in a different. He's going to want to make his own decision, in my opinion. So I reckon there's a good chance we don't see any big moves until what's it called? Frank has seen a lot of these players. But if Frank sees Decky as more of a right-sided attacker rather than a number 10 like he was last season, then are we going to sign a right winger when we got Johnson, who was our top goal scorer, and Decky there? And then that leaves, are we going to sign a left winger? But you have Odebear, you have Tell, you have Moore even. Obviously, I reckon Son's going. I think the way he's talking, the way he's conducting himself, it kind of tells me he's going to leave. So maybe if he leaves, that begs the question, do you go for... And I think I think that's why I think we're hearing more maybe we're looking for a left-sided attacker potentially, because if Son's leaving, Tell could also fill potentially backup striker and on left wing as well. So maybe we're looking for a guy who's going to be like our number one choice on the left wing if Son's going. And on the right, you might have Decky and Johnson there.
Yeah, I think it's definitely interesting as well because obviously our resident coach, Dave, he actually thinks Odebear, because of the role he plays for when he plays for France under 21s, and he's played in the right a couple of times for Spurs, he actually thinks that we'll have a situation where Odebear is the right wing option as well. Mm-hmm. But I think it's interesting because to your point, yeah, Frank doesn't. When you've watched Brentford, he likes his, like, you look at how he's used Mbeumo. I don't know if you wouldn't be able to use Odebear in the same way because Odebear's left foot isn't as strong, and he obviously wants to come off his stronger foot. But it's interesting. There's actually a realistic summer here whereby we actually lose four first team attackers in Son, Richarlison, Solomon. Who was the other one I was missing? Son, Richarlison, Solomon, Dane Scarlett, and then you've also got the guys like Brian Hill. So I think we definitely have an option there. We just need to be smart we have options there. We just need to be smart with who we bring in. And I fully agree with Yao on Thomas Frank as well. Again, nobody's saying he's Enrique, but I feel like we have a manager who's not going to look at a player and say, "Oh, you're this way, so I'm only going to play you this way," right? We have a manager who's actually going to say, "You know what, you're this way, but I might put you this way because it works better for the team in this game." I think if you look at the best manager I think we've had in our modern era, Pochettino. With Pochettino, there was no such thing as like, "Oh, he's an out-and-out right wing or left winger." He would have Son, Maddison, and Eriksen rotating calmly, and we didn't skip a beat. We didn't. Dele. Yeah, so we'd have them rotating calmly. Some games Dele's popping off the left. Some games he's in the center. Some games I remember we'd have Eriksen playing right attacking mid, but he's not really playing right mid. Like, that's the type of fluidity that we would like. It makes it way harder for defenders to track the movement, right? And it makes it easier for us to actually play a better brand of football because guys are interchanging and dovetailing with each other rather than this rigid system that Ange used to play. So not trying to like dig a man out, but it's the truth. For a manager who's heralded for such
can't let him rest. Can't let him rest.
No, it's the truth though. For a manager, it's the truth. For a manager who's heralded for, oh my God, he plays attacking football. He's so rigid. He's one of the most rigid managers I've seen at Tottenham. He is rigid from an offensive standpoint. If you're right wing, you could only play right wing and you could only play on the touchline. It's dumb. No. Get it gone. We need fluid quality players. Anyway.
I agree with that. And I agree with what you're saying. Like Eriksen, well, our best front four was Kane, Eriksen, Dele, and Son. And all the time, you can't even pick out two wingers in that four. So like all the time, they're picking up different kind of spaces, and I think that the main thing is we need good technical players around each other. Like if we had a Simons, Decky, and Maddison in a 4-2-3-1, people would be like, "Who's the wingers? Who's the wingers?" Doesn't matter. You just get them all together, ballers together, exactly, and they will click. They will click.
100%. Let the ballers ball, man. Spurs like getting these B grade Sainsbury's, Tesco value type players, and then we expect gourmet meals being cooked. Nah,
But
man.
that's your fault. That's your fault.
Why?
You like players like Højbjerg.
No.
You called him my Viking. Yeah, and the club heard.
Because he was did you not see him chilling with Vicario nose, bro?
Yeah, and now he has no beard like you.
There,
yeah? So he has no beard just like you, same face.
I actually think Højbjerg would cook under Frank. I'm not even lying. I think he would.
He would.
I think he
would.
Hey. He would.
Listen,
Sim.
Right.
You're fighting a losing battle here. Trust me. The crowd, they don't like Højbjerg prop. That's what it is. Bro.
Sim, if you keep talking like that, you're gonna have to link me outside Chick King, bro. Link me at Chick King. I promise you.
I'm just saying, people were chatting about Norgard. I'm like, Højbjerg is better than Norgard.
I didn't want Norgard.
Højbjerg was better than Norgard.
I think so too. But I actually think Norgard has been very solid for.
I'm not. I'm saying he's a bad player. I'm just thinking. I think Højbjerg. If we played Højbjerg in a double pivot rather than in the number 6, which we were playing under Ange, I think it'd be a lot better. He cooks big for Denmark. He's amazing for Denmark in that role. Every Euros, he's like one of the best midfielders because he's very good in that role. I think Frank could do a lot with him.
I know Frost when I see one, and that boy's been doing 419s. Yeah, so no, I do not believe in Højbjerg. But in saying that. Oh, you know who we forgot about? I don't know what his career is going to look like because great.
He's an interesting one because we've spoken about him so much in our chat, and like, listen, some people are stronger on him. Some people are. Let's put it this way. Some people are stronger than him than others. Yeah. Some men are outright slandering a 19-year-old. And you know what? I can't lie. I'm reading it and I'm chuckling. I'm chuckling big time. Yeah. But
nasty behavior.
In all seriousness, I actually think we actually have to throw him into the deep end to a certain extent. And I don't mean making him our starting number 6. I mean, we actually need to see this guy play in the positions that people keep saying he's going to play in, to actually see legitimately, is this guy Lidge? Because I've seen it in doses, but I'm yet to be convinced that this is legitimately the linchpin in our midfield for the years to come. And I appreciate we may not know that because he got limited game time in that role and he's still a kid, right? But I want to see more. Like, I've seen him and Bergvall, they're similar ages. Granted, Bergvall played in, I would say, maybe his favored position more so than Gray did. But Bergvall, you can actually see that there's talent there that's like, if he was starting a considerable amount of league games next season, you wouldn't get like, it's not ideal. You don't want a 19-year-old starting bare games, but you would feel more comfort with him getting a lot more game time than an Archie Gray.
Bergvall's our best midfielder right now. Let's be honest, he is.
He is.
Awesome. He is.
I think with Bergvall and Gray, and this isn't a disservice to Bergvall at all. I think because we had a lot of concerns about his physicality, opened early doors, and boy, I don't know what the S&C department did with him. I don't know if they gave him like 100 milligrams of the super soldier serum, but like he looked a lot more game ready, so you have to give him props. But I do have to say, I think it's easier to look better as a young attacking player than a young player who is playing up.
Yeah.
I think also, a lot of it is faith on stuff I've even seen from Gray when he was at Leeds, and I get he did play right back a lot, but I'm always going to go back to the first time I saw him play. I'm pretty sure it was Stamford Bridge. I can't remember if it's Ellen Road or not, but when they played it,
he popped him off the park.
He was whopping. I looked at him, I was like, who the hell is this kid? Do you know what I mean? And like, we said it me and Top said it on the last pod, like Brentford were ready to nearly triple their club record fee for this boy. And we know Brentford's like recruitment style, their analytics, they do the Moneyball thing correctly. So, I'm not going to now say that, we should be anyone Brentford's we should look at, because people do that with Brighton and it goes tits up for them. But, the manager that wanted to smash his club's transfer record now manages our team. So I think I think early doors he might need a bit of protection in a 4-2-3-1. I think there might be some games that will allow us to be a bit freer and play a 4-3-3, and he will be the lone six. But I don't think he'd be the lone six expected to do what, like, and this isn't slander, what an Angelo in six was expected to do. I feel like an Angelo six was expected to be some Gogeta level 6 where you're supposed to shuttle laterally and fight fires and break lines in the first, second, and sometimes the third phase. So I think I just expect Frank to use him intelligently. He's not going to play. I don't expect him to play 38 games at centre mid, but I do anticipate him to be to be higher up the pecking order at centre mid.
Yeah. We need him higher up in the pecking order because we paid a fair bit for him based off his talent, and yet we've not really seen him get like a suitable amount of games in said position. So we have to know if the chain's real, honestly. And if it's not real, snatch that chain, grab him by that long hair of his, and dash him back to Leeds where he came from. Nah, I'm messing. I'm messing. I'm messing, man.
How many people are you dashing out of our squad? How many people are you putting by hair and dashing?
I'm messing, man. I think he's got talent. I just don't know how big that talent is. So I do want to see him get game time. But I also, to Ya's point, I also don't want us to lose sight of the fact that we need another midfielder. It would be great to see another midfielder to pair him with in a 4-2-3-1, for instance, or another midfielder to pair Bergvall with. Like, we need another midfielder in the team.
Don't worry, man. Alfie Devine's coming back, man. Don't worry.
Jamie Donnelly as well. George Abbott, they're all coming back. We're putting the
But where are these men going to play?
Alfie, there's minutes for Alfie there somewhere. There's minutes.
You've been fighting this fight for years, and you know what? I actually like Devine as well, but I just don't know if he's gonna cut the mustard at Spurs.
Till the wheels fall off, man. Till the wheels fall off.
Man, you know what? Yeah. So Sim, I don't know if you're aware, but like, Ohio normally, if he's standing for a player like this, there must be some credence to it because outside of Devine, I only see you slut like this for Chelsea players. It's mad. So
these allegations.
It's the truth. If they're from Chelsea's academy and they're black, that's a world-class player in waiting for you. Highest eyes, honestly.
Well, apparently we're going to sign this Action Pong from Chelsea for 30 million. That's what they're saying.
I saw that. BS.
We don't even do business with Chelsea. It's not.
Yeah. BS. And even if they did 30 million, they're not going to sell him for 30.
Would you be interested in getting Madueke if he was available?
Nah.
Depending on the fee, but
you know what?
He does things that a lot of our wide men don't do at the moment. I'll give him that, and he'd probably pull up with a chip on his shoulder as well, which can be a good thing for players. But me personally, I wouldn't be like, we need to go get him. If we signed him for a fair fee, I'd be like, okay, little Madueke.
So YG in the comments just said Madueke is arse. You know what? I get why people don't like him. I actually don't think he's a bad player, but that being said,
you never think anyone's a bad player.
No, that's not true.
No, don't do this. If there is a line that I promise you Tobias is going to come out with is, I don't think he's a bad player. There is a player on the face of this planet. This guy thinks he's a bad player, bro.
That's not true. I hate Johnson. I think Johnson's a bad player.
No, you don't.
Top goal scorer.
He's a decent inside forward, but he's a bad winger. He's a bad footballer. He is.
He's bad. Relative to his level, he's bad.
He's bad.
What goal scorer? 18 goals last season. You're bad player.
Stop it, Sim.
No, the thing is, look at Sim's eyes. Look at Sim's eyes.
You don't even believe it. You don't even believe it.
You can't be that bad if you're scoring that many goals, can you?
Yeah, cool. Then let someone else buy him. Let someone else.
You know what I would say about Madueke, and this was said in another chat. He brought Ruby Rose to a game. We can't trust a man like that, bro. Like you can't bring a guy that brought. You know what? Let me not even insult the young lady's profession. I hope she enjoys herself. But man can't be bringing that sort of people to my club, please.
However, on the flip side,
On the flip side, I can trust him with a night out.
Number one, if Arsenal have Lotto, I'm fine with us having Ruby Rose. That's number one.
This. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Number two. The greatest thing, Madueke did one of the greatest things in Premier League history, where he didn't put on his Insta close friends that Wolverhampton was a shithole, got bagged, and then scored a hat trick when everyone was dunking on him.
Yeah, that was
that's real mentality monster for me personally.
That was cold.
Is he club trained? If he counts as club trained, then
he is club trained. He is club trained. Which is why I can understand why some people would sign him. But yeah, I don't know. Nah, man, we got to be doing better. We got to be doing better, honestly.
I was saying this to Ben. Ben was saying, I'm not sure. But I'm like, I think we need to realise where we are on the food chain. Are we getting much better than Madueke this summer?
We can get much better.
If we end this summer with Madueke as, you know, the way this summer is looking, if we end with him as, you know, the signing, change for Tottenham, better have like a photo of me standing outside the stadium with their shirt as the new signing, because I'm going to cause hell. You will find a photo of me building a stage on the stadium floor with Beyonce as the thing in the background saying, Yao is about to cause havoc in this stadium, bro. I will lose it. I will find Levy. I will find him personally, because I've been telling fans about this for a while. You know, we're here now. Sim, you've done it. Sim, you've done it. You've made me mad. Yeah, we're here now. I said it before and I'll say it again. Our fans need to take flipping credence from what the Everton. I'm not saying Everton fans were right, yeah, but I'm saying I understand what they did, yeah. When they turned to their chairman and said, "Look, what we're seeing on the pitch is utter madness," and they put out a little fear into the chairman's eyes, yeah.
Was it them or West Ham who were chucking pound coins? They were chucking pound coins at players or the owner. I think it might have been West Ham, wasn't it?
West Ham with the pound coins. If I'm right, if I'm right, Everton, either they got a hold of the chairman, so they gripped the man up, yeah, or they spat. One of the two, yeah. But I'm not saying spit out, man. But I am saying that Daniel Levy is close in facility. Somebody has to grip this guy up and say, "Big man, you've paid yourself too many wages for you to deliver us Madueke, bro. Like, it can't run." I am an advocate of good hair hygiene, and I don't understand how you can have so much money and your braids ain't fresh. He's out here looking like it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, that's why I didn't want flipping. I didn't want, what's his name, the one that went to Barcelona, Kunde. I didn't want him because we didn't know what hairstyle he had. Man had the half braid, half afro. I said, nah, you can't trust man that moves like this.
All right, so what about Grealish? You taking Grealish?
No way, bro. Let him party himself out in Marbella or something.
Grealish hasn't left the pub since 2024. We don't need this no more. Like, he needs to realize that, you know what? Actually, I would take Grealish.
No, you wouldn't.
I would.
You wouldn't. You wouldn't take him. You wouldn't take him. That would be a bad signing for Tottenham. I'd bad signing.
Rashford?
I'd have both of them.
I'd take Rashford.
And there's a reason why I'd have Grealish.
I'd take Rashford.
I have a genuine belief that if we sign Madueke, Grealish, and Rashford, our fan base will finally do the right thing. And they'll find peace. So I would take Grealish for the greater good.
No, I wouldn't. Sorry. No way.
Oh, it's like the four lines approach.
No way, bro. No way. There's a question. There's a question. There's a question from Virendra. He says, I think we touched on this anyway, but I guess let's just go around to make it clear what, without giving names, let's address the positions that we need. So it says, what positions do you lot think Spurs need to strengthen out of curiosity, more so starting 11-wise? Sim, I'll let you go first. Just naming the positions, which ones need beefing up in the
definitely centre mid. I think definitely an experience in the centre mid. Musel Basuma, get one in there. Definitely two forward players, depending on where Frank sees which forward player. But I'm probably going to go with, if it was up to me, I'll probably go with a right winger, and I'll probably go right and left winger, sell Richarlison and have Tell maybe fill in that kind of sub striker role, potentially if he starts to be even Johnson maybe up front. So I'll probably go for two wingers and a centre mid and probably one of Cirkin or Walker Peters.
You know what? That's that Johnson up front thing.
I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at that, you know.
I'm not
mad at that at all. Remove that guy as far away from the flanks as possible, and let him be a poacher in the box through the middle. I can accept that. Honestly, I just don't want to see him starting games off the right.
Especially we're playing a 3-5-2. I think he can definitely fit that role.
Yeah. Ohio, what about you?
Would any of you guys take Phil Walker before Ohio goes?
Are you feeling okay?
No, I'm just asking. Would any of you guys take Phil Walker?
I need to check. Okay, you need to put your drug prescription in the chat so we can have a
simple question. Would any of you guys have Phil Walker at Spurs?
Respectfully, no.
Okay, so why? What do you think Johnson's going to do up top?
Score, maybe. I just want that haram away from the flanks. That's it. Like,
yeah,
it's literally like the Bermuda Triangle when he's on the right wing. The ball goes there and it dies.
I've never seen a player have so many crosses blocked in my life than Brennan Johnson.
That's what we are. Blocked FC, I ain't gonna say what complexion, but the certain man in attack, everything is blocked. Don't look at me like that. Everything is blocked. Yeah,
this is nasty, babe.
You know what I'm saying? Everything is blocked.
All I'm gonna say about this is I've never seen anybody that makes insanely difficult. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. But this is Johnson up front talk. All right, whatever, and it's experimental season. Nah, bruv.
Yeah, I mean, just to answer a Rangers question, same as Sim. Both wings and the deepest midfielder or someone who operate in that first phase, most likely bringing the ball out from the centre backs. I know Frank centre backs, Brentford centre backs last year get a lot of touches, high volume touches. So those would be the positions. The most again, one of Cirkin or KWP. I think KWP defensively is a bit sus for me, especially at the back post, especially under crosses as well. Not just because he's short, I just think his timing is not particularly good. Sorry, Toes, I know you didn't ask for names. Obviously, didn't really talk about him that much.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'd say those positions primarily, to be honest.
Yeah, for me it would be the more right wing as opposed to both wings. But right wing, centre mid. Two actually midfielders, if I'm being brutally honest.
Is that Bentancur and Basuma out?
I don't think we're going to get rid of both. But yeah, in an ideal world, yeah.
In an ideal world, yeah, same.
One winger, two midfielders.
I need to research this Dalen in the comments. He said Stiller a couple of times. I need to do my research on this person.
Yeah, I've heard that name. I'm sure I've heard that name. I just can't remember who he was. But yeah, left back. And in an ideal world, striker. And the good thing I would say is that we have been linked, Link FC, of course, to at least 2 or 3 strikers in the window. So,
sorry, wait, I know Stiller. That's the guy from Stuttgart with the funky nose.
Yeah. Oh, what the big
yeah.
He's the kid with the nose. Yeah,
his nose is crazy.
Apparently, Madrid aren't signing him just because he's not aesthetically pleasing, allegedly.
Bruv, that's me.
They signed Mbappe though.
Yeah, I mean, but
his nose is a madness, bro.
He's a Teenage Mutant Hero Turtle, so he's got merchandise.
His nose is mad.
He's rivaling Triple H.
His nose is mad. His nose is peak. He could smell us from here, bro, or from there. Sorry.
Wow.
He could smell us from there, bro. It's mad. All right, let me stop, man. That's not nice. I'm a nicer guy than that. For me, I would say I'm gonna stretch it beyond starting 11 because I just think we just need a strong squad, man. But starting 11, definitely the base of the midfield. So the 6 or 8, whatever you want to call it. We need another central midfielder. Definitely need another right-sided option. So that's at least 2. And then I actually think, as much as I do think he can improve, I'm looking at that striker position and I'm like, we need something different there, man. Because we can't just be relying on Solanke alone to just bag. Yes, he can improve with a better system and better wingers around him, but I also think we need healthy competition, getting someone who can actually score goals and make his position an actual threat. I think it might spark some healthy competition, and actually that's, for me, that's how we want it. That's how we want it. We want players who are breathing down the necks of other players in terms of like their spots in the team. And then if I look at the squad, I think we're dying for a left-footed defender, either at left back or centre back. But I also understand the merit in signing someone like a Cirkin as well. So yeah, let's see where that goes. Gents, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. Sim, thanks for hopping on. It's been good to come on. And as I said, if you ever need any of us on We Are Tottenham for reactions, etc., New Spurs Order, we're more than happy to return the favor. Ohio, Macho Man, Scott Hall, a pleasure as always. For those who are still listening or watching, make sure you follow us on all socials, New Spurs Order, one word. Just get involved in the comments as well. Like, let us know who you think Spurs should sign out of the attackers. Similarly, let us know about how you think the squad's going to shape up this summer with incomings and outgoings as well. But until then, bless up, enjoy the weekend, and up the Spurs. Peace.